I can hear songs in the dance tunes. In fact, the way I develop the dance tunes, it is because I hear the little musical theme there that if you tap into it, it is, there's a spirituality about it. Therefore there's a universal appeal, because people the world over, I think it touches people's souls and minds and emotions. Traditional music had a huge attraction for a wider population, much wider than the Irish population, so they wouldn't necessarily go to an Irish pub because of when I went there was very negative media coverage of what was happening in Northern Ireland. So I decided that I was going to take it out of the pub and put it into concert halls all over London, which I did. So many musicians in London, Johnny Bowe, great accordion player from Burr in Offaly, Roger Sherlock, I mentioned, from Sligo, sadly no longer with us, the Jimmy Powell, Martin McMahon, I don't know if you ever heard of him, a Clare man, lived in London for years, himself and Teresa, an extraordinary box player. Another great accordion player from Connemara, Paddy Coyne. He ran an emporium for trad music in Southall, which is Little Asia, part of London. But people flocked there every Sunday. Finn Bradwell played there. And Finn Bradwell was, again, an inspirational musician. And you were listening to what he was doing with tunes. So London was a great university for students of music and for teachers of music. So that you can't just teach students in a vacuum, but if they understand that it's part of a much wider picture, if they understand that there are targets, there is a date that they have to go on stage, they have to prepare for that. And in order to enhance that evening for them, I would bring musicians from Ireland. They had become quite famous, like the Botti band we brought over. So the students would mix with likes of Matt Malloy, Tommy Peoples and people, and Paddy Keenan. And that had a huge impact on them and actually enthused them to the point that they went back into the music and started looking at it. But more importantly, they began to look at the place that this music came from, because schools wouldn't have mediated much of an image of or perspective on Ireland. The curriculum in the schools in Britain wouldn't, and their parents would talk fondly of it, or maybe not a lot, because some of them were unhappy that they had to leave Ireland. They were first generation Irish born and second generation and third generation, and so the plan that I had in mind was to actually expand the music out into the wider community, and we had busloads of people coming from Wales and from south of England and from north of England, Birmingham, to concerts in London. And I think it had a huge impact on the student population that I was teaching, and on the wider population as well. And we had, of course, attracted people from all over the world who were visiting London, Americans and Europeans. But the exciting thing is that new generations of musicians are, and I hope they don't feel that I'm being disrespectful, but they're standing on the shoulders of those who went before them. So they have adopted and taken on board the developments in the sean-nós that was there in the musicians. I'm thinking, if you think back about the likes of Coleman, or in my own county, Bobby Casey and Willie Clancy, those legendary characters. And the young people, I think, have begun to understand that there is a lot more to a dance tune than tapping your foot and nodding your head to it, that there is in fact a heart and soul in the tunes, and they seem to be now able to, maybe exploit is the wrong word, but expand the register of the tune to introduce, I won't say variations, but to introduce a new perspective on the little tune. It's a small piece of music, goes around in cycles. But that's very interesting to see that, and I see it at the University in Limerick, where the students there are of course thrown in amongst one another, and they're vying with one another, they're competing with one another, they're listening to one another. Students on the floor, and they're playing concertinas and fiddles and banjos and bazookas and guitars and pipes, and mixing of traditions as well. It's a huge development and a very exciting development, and I'm sure if Sean O'Reilly, wherever he is, will be looking at it with great delight, and Niall Keegan deserves huge credit for what he did there. In the end, I accepted this award for the families, the parents who brought their children and made sacrifices to bring their children to be introduced to some of the cultural aspects of their own heritage. And it is a mark of respect to them that this award has been offered to me, but I offer it to those that I've taught and been associated with all my life in London. And it is to respect them, and so I again thank the TGCAR for the award on behalf of all these beautiful people that I knew and loved.